What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Against All Odds podcast. I'm here with Eric. Gucci's been loving Eric all day, so hopefully she's not going to cause too much noise on the microphone. Eric, do you want to introduce yourself and you say your name, age, and where you're from?
Sure. Eric Bird from Virginia Beach, Virginia. 28 years old. Recently just had a birthday.
Yeah, your birthday was 2 days ago?
2 days ago, yeah.
Yeah, so happy belated birthday.
I appreciate it.
So this will be good. We're just going to hop in, kind of talk about Eric's career and then ask him questions at the end, just like usual. So let's roll the intro and let's get started. Okay, so do you want to talk about just like your day to day? I think it's like a lot of people are interested just of like a day in the life of a footballer. So you want to give like a little rundown of today for you?
Sure. Like on a day like today, I normally wake up right around 7 o'clock. I've got 2 dogs, so first things first, I got to take those guys out, get them fed. My life kind of revolves around those guys. We've got some forms that we fill out in the mornings. I'm sure you've talked to them about like our readiness and different surveys that we fill out for COVID and all this stuff that we're doing now. And then I eat a quick little breakfast. Try and get something in the stomach because if not, I'll feel just terrible at training.
Yeah. What do you eat for breakfast?
I normally go with like 2 small egg tacos, just like bare minimum, trying to like wean myself off of cheeses and bacon and all that kind of stuff. Over the years, this has been a progression that's been tough, but I'm starting to get there. So, and then I go try and get into the training room as early as possible. You know, I'm feeling the age a little bit nowadays. So trying to get in there with Jonathan and get warm, get E-stim on certain areas that might be bothering me and stretch, band work, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of fun exercises he can think of. Mm-hmm. And then, right around then, it's about 9:30, 9:45. It's either time for video, training, get out on the field, get some rondo in, of course. Mm-hmm. It's like the highlight of, pre-training. Everybody
Eric usually has the
it.
season ticket, so he's usually the one. He's really warm by the time training starts.
No, that's the goal. Every day, the goal is to, 1, not stand by a goalkeeper. That's my number 1 tip. Mm-hmm. 2, don't go in the middle, obviously. But then we get into training, do our thing out there, whatever Mike wants to do. On a day like today, you go back into the weight room, get some stuff in. It's always good to mix up the training. I feel like you can lose a lot of power and just, you're more prone to explosiveness,
injuries, prevention, all that stuff.
Preventional stuff, because the injuries can, as you play more and more games, they'll add up. And then I go home, get some lunch, watch Champions League, something like that. Kind of do some stuff on the side, kind of active in the market. We got some guys on the team that we kind of have a little chat that we go back and forth with. So
people who lose money. Yeah.
Time is money, trying to make it work for us, so, but yeah. And then by that time it's, time to walk the boys again, get out, get the legs moving a little bit, with those guys. And then Carly comes home and, my girlfriend, and we make dinner, and that's pretty much it. We just keep it really, really chill. We're beach kids, so that's what we're used to.
Because you're from Virginia Beach, right?
Yep.
You're born there?
Born, raised in Virginia Beach.
Mm-hmm. And how many siblings do you have?
1 sibling, 1 older brother.
Did he play soccer as well?
Didn't play soccer at all. He's the complete opposite of me, actually. Like, he is your, like, resourceful, manly, like outdoorsy type guy. He was a Silvercrest Eagle Scout. Like, he was in the JROTC. I saw those guys dressed up in military uniforms in high school and stuff. Followed in my dad's footsteps a lot. So it's kind of cool. Like, we had so many differences growing up, so we didn't really get along, but then now he's so different, and it's so cool because it's like we have so much to talk about.
How much older is he than you?
He's about 3 years.
3 years. Okay. I'm like 4 years older than my little brother. But we were similar. Like we always did soccer, basketball, so we weren't like too different. He's just very like reserved and like I honestly like personality wise, kind of like you. Yeah. And then I'm like me. And so I would just be annoying and loud. I'm the older one. I'm supposed to be the mature one. And that was a big problem with us, is Michael was more mature than me.
Oh yeah. I feel like that's a normal thing. You know, the younger siblings, more reserved, more mature.
They have to, because they have to. I'm not biased, but they have to, I feel like, because it's like you're with your brother, like you're with your older brothers and his friends. So you have to mature up quick, you know, and be with them. That's my theory.
Yeah.
I'm not a child development specialist or anything, but yeah. And then so parents, were they into soccer at all, or were they just kind of like typical like play sports? Or
my dad was big into basketball and baseball. He was actually much more into baseball. He was all-state. Well, he was all-state basketball, all-state baseball, and for Catholic League in Michigan when he was growing up. But he played semi-pro baseball on the Navy team that he was on. Because he went straight from high school into buds, and so he was a Navy SEAL for 6 years. That's how we met my mom in Virginia Beach. And that's what brought us, you know, to the area. That's why we're still there.
Yeah. And how was it growing up in Virginia Beach? Did you like it?
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Yeah, it's probably a nice place.
It's awesome. It was cool. We were like nestled right in between. We're right next to a military base, but we're like right in that like sweet spot between. There's the Chesapeake Bay, and then obviously it meets the Atlantic Ocean. And so that's the point, is where Virginia Beach is. So we're like, my house was a few blocks away from the Bayside, in a little neighborhood called Great Neck. Shout out to Great Neck. And then, you know, about 2-3 miles down the road, it was the oceanfront, which is where all the tourists and everybody goes to vacation.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's sick. I've never been to like anywhere East Coast, really. Like I've been to a couple games with the East Coast when I was in one season with St. Louis, but like you don't really get to see much. So like Mimi and I really want to go like from Florida all the way up to Maine, like one summer through fall, do that whole trip.
There's so many places, so many cool little like beaches. Gosh, I feel like I've told you about Outer Banks, Hilton Head, Charleston, definitely Virginia Beach, Eastern Shore, Chincoteague. Like there's so much going on.
Yeah, that's sick. Is that where you want to live, like post soccer? Like you want to go back to Virginia Beach?
Ooh, tough one. Not really sure. I think so. You know, everyone's there. Like all the roots are laid down. My dad has his business there, so you know, I think that's, you know, I would love to go back. I don't know if that's where life will take me, but I mean, it's not a bad place to settle down, you know? Yeah.
Cause like Carly's from there too, your girlfriend.
Yeah. Yep. And
you want to tell everybody about Carly, about how like when you guys met and everything? Cause it's a funny story.
What, in middle school?
Yeah. All the way back in middle school.
Oh gosh. Yeah. We've known each other for a long time. We grew up like 1 mile, 2 miles down the road from each other in Great Neck. And first day of 7th grade, I come into the classroom. I'd been going to private school because my mom worked at a private school, so we were commuting with her. But we switched over to public school, and I got in there my first day. This quiet, you know, reserved private school kid, and then got sat down in my math pod. And it was a group of 4 of us, and there was Carly, and the teacher, said, "Okay, everyone, elect a pod leader, so to like get worksheets or whatever." And before we could even have an election, like hold a formal election, democracy. That's what we're here in America for.
Yeah.
She goes, "I'm the pod leader." Like runs off, gets the worksheets, brings them back. There was no discussion. Like asserted her dominance straight away, and
the rest is history.
She's the same as she was then. Yeah.
Did you have a crush on her from that first day, or like?
No, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified.
Makes sense. I mean, that's so funny too. I can completely see like 7th grade Eric just sitting there like, okay, just about to say like, okay, let's all vote here. And Carly's just, it's me. Yep. I'm going to get the papers. That's funny. So did you grow up playing just soccer, or did you play other sports?
I grew up playing basketball as well. I did some cross country as well. But it was mostly soccer. It was mostly soccer. I actually loved basketball probably more.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I wasn't gonna. There got to be a point where I knew it wasn't gonna work out basketball wise. Like when you get to high school and or the tail end of middle school and kids are dunking and you're like, okay, well, this was fun while it lasted.
100%. Did you not play baseball with your dad? Like,
no, I didn't really.
Really?
There's
no interest, or
he was. Yeah, not. I wasn't very interested. I mean, my mom, she'll make this joke that she was so happy that I didn't play because it's such a boring sport to watch. But
yeah,
unless you got a funnel cake, I'm all for going to baseball games. Mm-hmm. Love baseball games, but as a parent, right before all that good stuff gets around, you got to sit out in the summer watching kids play baseball. Some of them, playing, some of them picking dandelions. So I can see why it can be a bit tedious, but yeah, it was mostly soccer.
Mm-hmm. Huh. That's funny. And did you always loved it? Like you always wanted to always be playing, or was it when you first started, was just something you just did because you got signed up for?
It was something that I signed up for because my neighbors were doing it. And I just, wanted to be one of the kids, I guess. I just wanted to have friends and do something that was different from my brother. But something I could be around people that I liked. And it's funny because on my first team, we had like 10 of us and 7 of us ended up going Division I.
Really?
Yeah.
On that first team?
On that first team. So we're like, and there's like a group of us that we all went to high school together. There's about 12 of us. They called us the soccer boys in high school.
Uh-huh.
And we're like the closest friends ever still to this day. We still talk, have a group chat and everything.
Dang, that's
all of us.
Crazy.
I know, it was pretty wild.
That's insane.
So I say that's where I really fell in love with it, where it was, those weekends playing in the backyard with these guys, and they were good. And we pushed each other. And so it was just like the perfect ecosystem, especially in a place like Virginia Beach where we're not known for our soccer at all.
Yeah. Did any of those guys end up going to the same school together?
2 of them went to William & Mary and 2 of them went to Virginia Tech.
Wow. I'm even thinking my teams, like my club teams, still even that, I had like 3 was the most D1 players to come from a club team.
Really?
Yeah. Like in Oregon and when I was growing up was not, I mean, the younger kids were crazy. Like 2 years younger had like they won like the national championship and everything. But like my age, it was we only had like 2 D1 guys from my whole, like in the state of Oregon from my age group.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
I might be wrong. I might be completely throwing it out, but I'm pretty sure. I just can think of a few. Yeah, so that you got a tight knit community of guys that just always loved to play, always were playing in the backyards, just pick up games all the time.
Pick up games all the time, literally
That's
all
awesome.
The time.
I wish like I was I had nothing. I was just riding my bike around with my brother in like the suburbs of Portland, just wishing for that. That's so cool. And then when did you join your first like club team? Was that typical like U11?
Yeah, I think it was U10, U11, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all went from the neighborhood youth soccer league, and we all like went to that travel team and just basically kind of took it over. Yeah, all those guys got onto the A team, and so it was an easy transition. Obviously, more traveling and stuff, but same people around you.
That's cool. And then did you guys, was your club team good, like in the state, or how did it rank to everybody else?
Yeah, we were good. We either won or made it to the state final every single year that I was,
wow,
that I was a youth player. Yeah.
Dang. That's
set some heartbreakers. We won 4 state titles, and then I think we lost 4 finals.
That's good. I mean, it's funny how talking to some people, like, do you know like Moses McKindy? He was at El Paso. He was in Tulsa Roughnecks in 2019 before you got here. But he was one of those guys, I think he said he won like 8 like state championship, like 8 final games, 8 of them from 11 to 18.
Jeez.
Like every year his team just won.
What state was he in? Maryland?
Yeah. It's like Baltimore. I didn't think about that one. Hey, Gucci, chill.
That makes sense. Is he on like the Bays, Baltimore Bays or something?
That sounds familiar.
Or Bethesda. They got some really good clubs up there.
Yeah. Hey.
We would always, it was always, really hard or not super hard to make it through the state, but whenever we got to the region, it was always really, really tough to win it or to get out of your group even.
Yeah, dang, that's pretty cool though. And then did you stay with that club team all the way through?
Oh yeah.
U18? What was it called?
Beach FC.
Beach FC, of course. Why not?
There was that. It was Beach was a big club there. And then Virginia Rush. There's rushes all over the country.
Yeah.
They like moved in, and when I was U18, that's when they got their academy set up going there. And by that time I'd already committed, and there was no real point in spending more money and traveling more places when the end goal was mostly just get to college.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Like now looking at the academy setup now and like the path to pro now as kids versus when we're not even like I guess it is a generation, but like one generation and it's so different. Yeah. There wasn't, same for me in Oregon, we had 1 year of an academy team and that was like my U16 year for 1 year. I didn't make that. And then it disbanded after 1 year. Yeah. So when people are like, what do you mean you didn't play academy? I'm like, there was no academy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's good. It's a good thing.
It is good.
Improving.
It's good. It is good. But we had things like, did you do ODP?
Well, no.
No?
We had ODP, but I was never good enough.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. That was like my thing was I was like on the tail end of the ODP. I know they still have it, but before all the kids went to the DA, like most kids were doing the ODP. And so I was like, had run my course with them and, had some success there. And so, I wasn't I felt like I was, relatively well known for, wanting to do what I wanted to do, which was just to go to college. So.
And did you always play center mid? Were you always a center midfielder somewhere in there?
I was always up until, I think or how far back you want to go?
U11.
I think my first year as travel player, I was a right back. And then
you said, no more of this. This sucks.
I was like barely starting. I was not doing well. And then I don't remember. I had this conversation with Carly the other night. I don't remember why I got changed. I think that was right around the time where I went to ODP and I like got integrated with the younger guys because most of those guys were 92s that I was playing with. So I would go back to the 93s and I would be, a little bit better, a little bit more mature playing with older guys. And they put me in center mid. And then from there, I think that's where I kind of took off. And then I've never played anywhere other than in the middle of the field my entire career since then.
Was it a coaching decision that made that switch for you? Or were you like, I want to play center mid?
I think it was a little bit of both, probably.
It's a good decision then. It worked out.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
And during this time, like between U11 and U18, were you thinking, I know you said the goal was always just D1, but were you thinking pro or were you just kind of just focused on the next step?
Yeah, just for me, it was always college. I'd gone on quote unquote trial for Bristol City. I spent a few weeks over there with some friends and my coach had a connection over there. He used to be a player there. And they expressed, interest and like wanting me to come back. And I remember talking to my mom about it and just the idea of leaving home at, I think I was 14 or 15 at the time and going over there. And, I had the conversation with my mom and I said, I don't really know if I want to do this. And mom was like, you don't have to convince me, like she, we had always talked about just the dream was always to go to UVA. So that was, that was the only thing that was going through my mind. It's like, if me moving isn't going to help me get to UVA, then, why would I really do it?
Yeah. That's funny. I think that's something that I've noticed too, like with the better academies coming in, the better club teams, like more and more kids are focused more on like how to just become a pro, which I think is a good thing. And I also think there's like negatives to that too, because they're so worried about that. And then they're 16, they haven't signed a pro contract and they freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
And for me at 16, same thing. I was the same way, like just D1. If I can get a D1 offer, that's all I had. Like I wanted to be a pro, but I also wanted $10 million,
Yeah.
So that was how it was in my head.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. I think some kids get a little bit, like nowadays, get a little lost thinking too far ahead. and I'm like, just kind of focus on the next step.
Yep.
And I think like, I'm not saying don't dream big, but it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I think, yeah, it was just with the times that we were growing up in, it was just kind of unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
Not unheard of, but it was so rare, and it was just such a leap of faith, because you hear about those stories, or I don't know if you did, but I heard about those stories about kids in Europe that if they don't make it, like most of the time when they're trying to make it, they're sacrificing their education.
Yeah.
So if they don't make it and they're not educated, then it's like it's straight into those blue collar, really hard working jobs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real other alternative. So that was something that it was almost like a calculated decision of, you know, I want to have a fallback if this doesn't work out, because I knew that, you know, I thought I was good, but I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just don't know, I guess. I didn't have anyone that was telling me, you know, this is the path to go on.
Yeah.
It was almost like, and it was also a little bit of being naive to think I can go to college and then I'll become a pro. You know what I mean? Like,
then I'll go over to Europe and
then I'll, right. So that was kind of, you know, because you don't really realize how important those years from 16 to 21 are in your development.
Yeah.
Like that is when those top players, that's when they really come into their own. And that's, don't want to say you stop developing after 21, like, because your technique can always get better. You can always, you know, do more stuff, but that is definitely
those important years,
huge developmental years.
Yeah. Like I always like, people always ask like, what would you change if I went back? I'm like, I was training twice a week with a club team from U11 through U18. And I was playing with my brother, but it wasn't even training really. It was like, oh, let's try to keep the ball up. Let's juggle. Let's play 1v1s, but it was all competition. And so like, if I'm looking back, I'm like, my training was, and then with the club team, you have some terrible coaches that would run you for like 30, 40 minutes out of and you have 2 days a week of training and half of it you're running. And it blows my mind looking back on that, how the lack of development that I had through all those years. Just I'm like, dang, I wish I could go back and be my own coach, or like a one-on-one coach from 13. Even earlier.
Yeah.
Do you regret not going to Bristol City, or do you like?
No, not at all. Mostly because, well, I got the next step that I wanted, you know, like it was a risk that who knows if it would have worked out. So it's kind of, I mean, in hindsight, you know, that would have been a great experience to talk about but there's no guarantee that it would have worked out. So
yeah,
I'm okay with my decision.
How long were you in Bristol for, like on the trial?
Just for, I think it was 14 to 20 days, something like that.
I've watched Bristol City and like live.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I was over there because Mimi studied abroad in Bristol. So I went over there.
Ashton Gate?
Huh?
Ashton Gate, that's their stadium.
Oh, the stadium. Yeah. But I thought you meant the school. I have no idea what school Mimi was at. But yeah, went to a game. Then she just surprised me like, yeah, I got games for this team. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's Bristol City. I'm like, oh yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. It was a good environment. It was fun.
Oh yeah, it's great over there.
Yeah, it's a small world. And then so that was like 2-3 years ago. So talk about like your transition from club, like U17, U18 to college. How did that work out? What were you looking at? How did you get recruited?
So I was recruited by UVA. I was recruited by Tech. I was recruited by William & Mary, mostly Virginia schools. And UVA actually gave me the worst deal. They said, you know, you can be a preferred walk-on, get a spot on the team, and you can, you know, work your way into the lineup, you know, junior, senior year. You know, but you know, you have a spot here, you have a spot in the school, and you know, you're a Virginia guy. That's what you wanted. So, okay. So I had to convince my parents to help me out that first year. And I just knew when I got there that I had to just make an impact immediately. And so like I just had it in my head, like I have to play, like I have to be playing by the end of this preseason. And you know, I did really well going in, and I was able to start I don't think I started the first game, but I started the second game and started every single game my freshman year until my knee injury.
Jeez. That's pretty good from a preferred walk-on. Did they guarantee you a roster spot? Was that how it worked? Did they just say, okay?
It's like, you sign your national letter of intent. It's, yeah. You're into the school, you're on the team. And then based on merit, you can get money after that. Mm-hmm. And then, after the first, I think I made it 8 games before the knee injury, but I was on a full ride after that.
Were you worried at all? Because you said you got better offers from other schools. Did you get scholarship offers from other schools were you nervous turning down some coaches that probably maybe wanted you more at that moment and then going to a school that was like maybe didn't have as high of an interest level?
I probably should have been more than I was.
Yeah. But you're just thinking UVA, that's what I wanted. That was my goal.
My room was painted orange and blue since I was, 10 years old. Like I always loved the school. I always loved the Cavaliers for whatever reason. It just stuck with me. My friends' parents went there and stuff. And so we were kind of around it. I remember on my recruiting trip to William & Mary, it's a really good coach there, Coach Norris. And I remember him giving me an analogy on like how to make my decision. And he basically said, Eric, you can either be a big fish in a small pond or you can be a small fish in a big pond. And he's like, that's just the decision that you've got to make. Mm-hmm. And I think he was, saying it to convince me to, go to William & Mary to be the big fish.
Yeah.
But it worked opposite in my mind. I said, I want to be in that big pond and I want to prove myself against the best of the best. And so that's exactly like after that, trip, I pretty much committed, a week later.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good thing. I've always thought about it like if you go to the team and you try to prove yourself there, it's always easier to come back down. So that always with my decision making, even with pro teams and stuff, has been like, well, I'd rather go with the highest competition where I think it's going to be the best level. If it doesn't work out there, I can easily come drop down a level and play there versus performing and then coming up, I think is harder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. It's like, it can go either way, right? Because younger guys, I'd say, go to the lower team and just get games and play, right? But it can definitely be tricky because if one bad year and you could find yourself stuck for, for quite some time.
For a long time, yeah. That's interesting because I have the last person who Jerome, I was like, who did I just have? Jerome on the podcast. He kept on saying about his whole thing with making decisions wherever he's gone with teams has always been find the coach that has shown the most interest in me, who wants me the most, and he's always going to go there. Mm-hmm. Like that's where his whole, it was like a theme every single time. Yeah. So it's funny how different people make different decisions, or, it's so situational too. Like you just, it's like such a gut thing, like based off even what is going to make you happier too. So it's just interesting.
Yeah. Well, they always say when you're making college decisions too, like go to the school that you can see yourself being at, even if you didn't have soccer.
Yeah.
So that also kind of swayed me up.
Yeah.
UVA is just,
That's why I really chose UC Davis even compared to like Gonzaga, because Gonzaga I had a preferred walk on and a scholarship offer at Oregon State. And then I had a scholarship offer at UC Davis, small scholarships. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I don't want to be in Gonzaga and be freezing in the winter. So I was like, I'd rather go to California and be warmer, even though UC Davis had a worse facilities, worse everything. But I'm like, you know what? The sun is going to make me marginally happier. The coach is interested in me. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of both of that, it's that's how I made my decision at Davis. And then, so how was, you talked about how you came in and you obviously made an impact because you were considered or close to a starter from the get-go almost. How did you make such a good impact coming in?
I think what helped me a lot was going to summer school. They've got like an integration period where guys can come in, and I got around the older guys on the team. Mm-hmm. The team had actually won the national championship the year before I got there.
Wow.
Or no, actually they had won it 2 years. And so like the year after that, they had lost a lot of guys and it was kind of a bit of a lull. So those guys were like trying to get their footing. They were a year older, obviously. And so it was good to just get in with those guys and kind of, see what the team dynamic is, who plays where, tendencies. Because in those summer sessions, I think they're 4 or 5 weeks long, you play pickup every night. Yeah. You train with them every day. So it was cool to, and then you've got like the coaches hanging out on the parking garages, like spying on us, to
seeing who's doing well.
Yeah, exactly. Like seeing
just outside of the rules and regulations of NCAA.
Yeah. Oh, I probably shouldn't. Yeah.
My coach would always.
I think it was the coach. I don't know if it was actually.
My coach would always be doing a walk around the campus during our pickup games. Just go on my nightly walk.
Oh, soccer, cool.
Yeah. Wow.
Are those my guys?
Yeah. That's funny. No, I think that's so smart though. I did the same. I didn't do it actually I did kind of do it my first year, but not the full summer school. I came in 3 weeks earlier. I just literally just hit up my coach. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Can I stay with the guys? And he's like, yeah, sure. Threw me in a house, slept on the couch, but training for 3 weeks even. Because you get a little bit more comfortable, you know players' names. It's not as much pressure on that first day because you've proven yourself at least to 10 guys, 15 guys.
Right.
So I think that's
plus
huge.
you know the bus schedule, you know the city a little bit or the town or whatever, and then you get to know the athletic trainer a little bit, and so just like the stuff that you need to know day one, you get that little bit of a grace period to just so you're not like coming in with deer in a headlight, like, oh wow, this is college, and all this other stuff going on outside of soccer, and then the soccer itself can be intimidating as well for a young player.
Definitely. And then did you guys for like fitness and stuff with the college teams, because that's big in college, did you do any extra fitness leading into that? And do you think that helped, or was your coach more about just playing on the field?
I'm trying to remember. He did have, like, we had standards that we had to meet. The Cooper test, I'm sure you've heard of. Yeah. So unless you pass that test, and that would always be the first day of preseason, then you weren't allowed to train. So, and I got some funny stories about the Cooper test, because just some guys just aren't built to do it, I guess. But
I think it's unfair for some players.
It's so funny. But so that was like your main focus going into UVA was make sure you pass the Cooper, because you don't want to miss a training session. And if you're good to pass that, you can do, we did the beep test and stuff like that, but there was no minimum that you had to get.
It's just gauging players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was for me, like I got very lucky, because I kind of did the same thing. They're like, yeah, come in. I don't think I was being looked at as like a starter or anything freshman year. And then the coaches were super about like athletic, fast, fit. And I fit that bill like perfectly. And so I like had so much to work on technically, finishing wise, but they just stuck me up top. Because the college, 20 minutes, run your ass off for 20 minutes.
Yep.
Pressure the defenders, sprint in behind. We're going to hit it in behind, and you just run after every ball. And I literally just fit that to a T, and I came in and I was like second fittest on the team and did the same stuff. And like that helped me a lot. And like going back, I'm like, yeah, I think like all the fitness I did really helped at the beginning. But like I wish, again, like just don't focus on that. Like I focused too much on that when I was growing up, especially 18, 17, 16.
Yeah.
Too much fitness. Should have been more balanced. But I think it still helped me, where coaches were like, wow, this guy, he's fit, athletic. He came in seriously wanting to like impress,
Right. Yeah. Oh, there's definitely, if I'm thinking about it from a coach's perspective, there's always room on my team for someone that's fit and has the right mentality. 100%. You need those guys, because those guys will be infectious to the rest of the group and will help push the level. So, every team needs that, but I definitely see what you're saying with,
Yeah. That was,
there are other aspects to the game that you've got to refine.
And the thing is too, especially like, I was running like an 11:15 Cooper, which was pretty good, but like, it's like, could I have done like 11:45 Cooper, like just pass like pretty handedly. And then instead of spending, 4 days a week doing mile runs and everything, do twice a week to get the 11:45 and then focus more elsewhere on other areas that I needed. Yeah. But again, like I had it was just me, like, I signed the contract. Nobody around me was really going D1. So I was like, okay, well, don't really know what I need. So I'm just going to do my own training and we'll see what happens. How was, when did you have your knee injury?
So my freshman year.
Yeah. So you're 8 games in, then you said you got your knee injury.
Yep.
And what happened with your knee?
It was our ACC home opener against UNC, and it was in the first half. It was a loose ball, and I remember stretching my leg out to try and poke it forward. And as soon as I planted it, It's actually really sad. Kirk Urso, I don't know if you remember him. He played at UNC, then went to play for Columbus, but ended up passing away. Very sad story. But anyways, as soon as I planted my foot, he came in from behind and just completely just demolished me. Like snapped my knee right in half, torn ACL, torn MCL, like grade 3 off the bone, shriveled up in the top of my knee. It was one of those where as soon as it happened, I knew my season was over. I knew that this was really bad.
Yeah.
Because I had been hurt before, ankle stuff, muscles, whatever. Nothing had felt like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny how like you just know, like in your, like another gut feeling, you just know it. This is different because every player's rolled an ankle. Every player's got in a hamstring strain at one point, but like, yeah. Did you have any other, was that your first surgery through your career?
That was my first surgery, yeah.
And then how's the recovery from that? How long did that take?
That one took about a year. I really should have redshirted the next year. Mm-hmm. I played through my sophomore year with pain the entire time. But it was about a year and a half until I really felt like I wasn't in pain anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, because the when you're cleared to play and when you actually feel back to normal is never the same day.
Never the same.
Like even with sports, how was your sports hernia, which we'll get into later? But like, was it the same? Like, because that's a pretty mild injury,
right?
In terms of surgery. How was that like return to play and when you felt 100%?
That one was, well, I feel like I had a lot more grace period because we had those 3 months off.
Oh yeah.
So I got the surgery right before lockdown and then like had 3 months. Mm-hmm. So I felt pretty good. It still like sometimes kind of flares up, but yeah, no, nothing was compared to that I've had as compared to the knee.
Mm-hmm. So MCL,
except for my ankle.
So MCL and ACL for that, huh?
So MCL, ACL, yeah. And it was like MCL. That was the worst part about it was the MCL, right? Because that's when you're passing, the MCL is protecting the knee. So every time you hit it with the inside of your foot, that's the MCL. And it just took forever for me to, really feel confident in that thing, to be able to whip it. And, it just, still to this day, if it's really cold out, I still feel it. But
how were you mentally during that time? Like, did you struggle, or was it because it was in college that it helped have more of a distraction, or?
I was really up and down. I was initially I was really, really sad, stuck in my dorm room. Guys are going out, they're still in season, so they've got a bunch of freedom, and I'm over here on crutches, like just trying to get to class. Virginia, UVA, Charlottesville is really hilly, so I'm having to like crutch up hills. I'm trying to call taxis, they never show up on time. All kinds of stuff going on. So it was definitely a dark time. I remember I didn't go to class for like 2 weeks. And one of my favorite professors, he was an econ guy. His name was Professor Edwin Burton. And I remember him showing up in my dorm room and knocking on it.
Wow.
And being like, why the hell haven't you been in class? And I've been like, sorry, professor. And like, he knew I was hurt, but he was like, come on, get in my car. And he like drove me to lunch, and it just like became a thing. We went to lunch, however so often, maybe once a month, my entire career. And he's just been a mentor, but he knew that I was not doing well. And, but at the same time, as sad as I was off the field, like when I got into the training room, I knew every day, push myself. If you push yourself, if you put in this work, it's going to be better. Like you might not be the same from what you were before, but that doesn't mean that, you can't be better. You can't just be different, and add, value that way. But, so I'd say it was like conflicting off of it. I was very sad, but when it was time to work, I never had a question of motivation in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy for the professor did that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But I know what you mean about the conflicting, like you got to do it. It doesn't let that affect your rehab routine, but like, yeah, it's up and down and everything. And then you said sophomore year that season, just playing through pain. Did you play every game, or did you come back later?
Yes, started every game.
Every game, but played through pain.
Played through pain the entire time. It was a very mediocre season for us. We made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament and got knocked out by New Mexico, actually. But it was just, one of those very average seasons.
Mm-hmm. Then how did junior and senior year go?
And then junior year came around and we got in a really good rookie class. The sophomores there had been there for a year coming into their own, and we turned it around a lot, and we made it to the Final Four. Lost a heartbreaker to our arch nemesis Maryland in PPL, or I guess it's something else now, but in Philadelphia Union's stadium. And that was like the thing that catapulted us through senior year, which is where we had everybody come back ready to go. And, we won the national championship that year.
How was that? That's crazy.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see like the whole hard work of everybody over that amount of time, just, from all the stuff that we'd been through, all the ups and downs, not being the most talented team, 100% not the most talented team, but just having the resilience and the belief in each other. Like, to be a part of that is just one of the reasons why you play sports. And I'm biased, but why I think sports are so important to just people in general and what you can learn from them and apply in real life. But it's just, being able to celebrate with those guys and just be a part of something bigger than yourself. I think that was the coolest part of the whole thing.
And I got goosebumps. That was so cool. I literally, to win a national championship is just, I can't even imagine how that would feel in the locker room. That's so sick.
It was cool.
And like the stars aligning, like you had everybody coming back, probably didn't have that many injuries throughout the season. Like everybody was probably clicking on the field and off the field. Like just everything probably aligned, huh?
It was good. It was good. Most of it aligned. I was injured like on and off my whole senior year. I had back injuries, probably stemming from the knee injury. So I didn't play those first. I actually had a groin injury at that time, but I had a lot of injuries. I didn't play the first 3 games, and then the semifinal made a brief appearance, and then the final I played like 10 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes. So it was mostly like I said, the younger guys stepping up, and we had a couple older guys out there, but yeah, it was just cool, like I said, to just be a part of it. Yeah.
And then next step after that, so you guys won the national championship. Obviously, every professional team is looking at your guys' team. How did the next steps go? The transition into the pro game. Did you get it? Did you graduate? You graduated.
Yeah, I graduated.
Did you graduate on time, like in 4 years?
In 3.5, because I was doing the summer school.
Yeah,
I continued doing summer school throughout my career.
That's smart. So then, right after your senior season, you can no attachments. You can leave. With a degree.
Yep.
That's the way to do it.
I was, not mom's rule, but she was like, "Hey, summer school, full ride. You're getting it paid for. Might as well do it."
Were you thinking of like, because I want to graduate early to go play pro, or were you just thinking like,
after my junior year, yes. Yeah, after my junior year, I was thinking, okay, let's do this though. Because junior year, that was probably my best year in college. And I was second team All-American. So I was like, I knew that it was a possibility to play after college.
Yeah. So you got your younger self helped you out there, like freshman, sophomore year, taking those summer classes. You're like, okay, good.
Yeah.
Then you're still going to do the summer school, but the focus is now shifted more to like, so I can leave early with the degree.
Right.
And then how did when the season ended, did you get hit up by agents, or did you get hit up by anybody, or did you just wait for the combine, or what'd you do?
I had a guy. I actually still work with him. He's a UVA grad. He's an OG. He was around when MLS first kind of started, and so he got in with all those UVA guys, and so he kind of talks to UVA guys, kind of whatever. So I knew him through the network, and so it was kind of like, as soon as the last game, it was like understood that I was gonna go with him because I'd been speaking to him. So,
and then how did the combine and the draft go?
So I was invited to the combine but didn't go because of an injury. Shocker.
What would you injure this time?
This one was a sports hernia, but I didn't know it at the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
So I played in that. I played in that national final. I had a hernia. Or I guess I didn't know it at the time, but I had one. And then as soon as it was like 2 weeks later where the combine was being held, because it was the final was on the 15th of December. Then it was, January, I think they do first week of January. It's the combine. Then it's the draft right after that. So I got invited. I called my agent. I can't go, I'm hurt. So, okay, whatever. At the time I was, getting pretty good feedback from, you might sign a senior deal, or, you're looking like you're going to go in the first round, top 10. I saw a couple mock drafts like that. So I wasn't too worried about it. And then, obviously draft day came around, and I was like one of those guys where the names kept slipping in. They're like, well, there's a good midfielder on the board. His name's, we thought he'd go higher, but here he is. And so finally, the second to last pick in the second round, I got picked by Philly. And I remember not getting a call for like almost 2 hours, and just wondering like, all right, like what happens now? What are we doing? And but eventually Jim Curtin called me, and he was like, yeah, I've been watching you throughout your career in college, and I really like you. Can't wait to get you in. Let's get you in. I think it was in 2 weeks. And so I went in, and, I thought by then I'd be healthy because I just thought it was a groin injury.
Every sports hernia has a groin injury at first.
And so I said, okay, I'll be ready to go. And then I was ready to go, played the first, couple weeks, preseason, was doing really, really well. And then I remember like a specific training down in Clearwater where I just felt it go again.
Yeah.
And it just never went away. And so we got an MRI, and he was like, yeah, you have a hernia. We have to get surgery. And before I knew it, I was on a plane to LA to get surgery, and it was just, kind of battling back ever since.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year battling back.
Yeah. And when you're like, because you hadn't signed a senior deal, so it was just, you were on trial pretty much
on trial. Yeah. Luckily they did, they said, we're going to sign you and get you the surgery. So it wasn't super stressful.
That's good.
But yeah.
And then when you felt it go, what did it feel like for you?
It just felt like a pinch almost.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact sensation, but it just felt like, I remember like clipping a ball in behind and just being like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then it just stayed there.
Yeah.
And it was just, it didn't feel like it was a perfect groin injury. It felt like above it. And so, it was just something that I was like, hey, I don't think, I can play. I think we need to get this looked at. And, thankfully they were like, all right, we'll have a look. And sure enough.
Yeah, that's how it felt for me. Like wasn't very painful. Like I was feeling like tight beforehand a little bit, and then all of a sudden just a little pinch, or like for me it just felt like a little. That's what I describe it as, just a like right in my pelvic area on the side. I'm like, that's weird. Like that's different. Like the gut instinct, like that's different. Like same thing. I don't think that's a groin strain. It's not a strain, and yeah, it sucks. But how was the recovery from that?
That one was more tedious than this past one.
Yeah.
That one felt like I was not the same for probably, maybe we were doing more stuff, but it was at least 3.5 months.
Did you just have like the abdominal mesh put in? Just that?
Yeah, the mesh.
No adductor release? Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's like, I've heard it's just like, kind of depends like on how deep sometimes it is, or how like just how your body recovers from it. My first one was way worse than the second one.
Really?
But still, my second one was still longer than like, cause I was back playing in 6.5 weeks, but back 100% was like 4 or 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was like 11 months. Like mine was the first one, but I also delayed, misdiagnosis, did the surgery on the abs, needed an adductor release as well. And the adductor for me was the hard one. Cause like, that's where it was like the power to explode and to cross and to do everything with the adductor. Like that felt like I could not sprint or move laterally at all. It's terrible. Yeah. But 3 months still is a pretty long time in a season.
Yeah. I felt like as soon as it was time to like get back into it, 3 months with that level of guys.
Yeah.
And you're just way, way behind the curve. And just your first professional season, knowing, just the ins and outs and stuff. Yeah. It was really tough to get back from that.
Yeah. And how did the rest of the season go?
And so they would loan me to Harrisburg. I got probably like 7 or 8 games, but it was always at the end of the game. I would never start or anything. The coach was kind of a stickler about that. He was like, if you want to come here full time to compete, you know, then you need to come here full time, because if not, I'm not going to start you, which I understood 100%. But Philly was reluctant to do so because they had such injury problems that year. They just needed the numbers in training. So I just kind of got stuck in between that. And I think it was, this is a recurring thing, but I was down in Charleston playing, and we had come on, and it was 3-0. Game was gone. We were losing. And I remember like receiving a ball and just, passing it just as quick as I could, and just, typical me. And I just remember getting absolutely just blindsided by this guy. Straight red card. Just crushed me right in the knee.
Yeah.
That same bad knee that I had problems with. And it was a grade 2 MCL, and that pretty much knocked me out to the end of the season. So I played, or the first 3 months injured, next 2 months more or less came back, was playing, and then the next 2 months was MCL again, and then a couple weeks or whatever, and then the season was over. And that was back when Philly was not very good.
Yeah. How were you going into like the end of the year meetings? Were you nervous because you hadn't really performed for Philly, or what was going through your head?
I had no idea what was going to happen, to be honest. I knew that they had liked me, and by the way, how the meeting went, it was evident, but I also knew that, like you said, I hadn't really played for them. So I just didn't know what they were going to do, or the team wasn't good, if they were going to clean shop with everybody and whatever. But I ended up, going into the meeting, it was positive, and it was like, hey, we love you as a person, as a player. You come in, you're a professional, you stay late, you're the last one to leave. But you've been injured, like we can't really do much with that. And I remember Jim saying, like, I think you need a couple years in USL to play games, and then I think you'll be back in MLS. And he actually was right about that.
And then so like after that season, like you've now had the MCL, how long did that take to recover?
About 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's not, because it's grade 2.
Grade 2. Yeah.
So you've had now the knee injury and a sports hernia, and then now like the MCL. Were you ever thinking like this isn't gonna work, or like I should stop, or like were you ever thinking about quitting at that time because it was a rough year? Were you nervous about going and doing a few years USL, or what were you thinking at that time?
I was thinking, like naively thinking an MLS team was going to pick me up.
Yeah.
And when it never happened, then I was thinking, because I had options in USL that I'd turned down or just kind of sat on, like FC Cincinnati was one. And then I remember, not them retracting it because, I'd waited too long. They were going a different direction. And then I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a team. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then luckily I had a connection with RGV through college. The assistant coach here, Michael DeLaRusso, was at Maryland. Say the arch nemesis, right? But he was looking out and he remembered me. And so he brought me in. And even then I was like, do I really want to live in McAllen, Texas? You know, like young single guy at the time, didn't really, you know, have any connections down there. The city's not like, you know, overly flowing with, you know, young people and, you know, it's just a different lifestyle. But when I got down there, I met the guys. I knew that this is where I should be. And I'm really glad that I was able to, you know, I'm glad that I stuck it out and, you know, whatever got in with those guys, because that season for sure turned around my perception of professional soccer and, you know, just not taking it for granted. And it's the one where, you know, you have nothing. So everything else after that point, like, doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah. 100%.
It makes you feel, you know, very thankful for, you know, all the stuff that you do have.
Yeah.
So.
I was thinking about that literal thought today, because I remembered like coming back, because I struggled with injuries in St. Louis, had to go down to New Zealand and play like low level there, come back into the USL, another sports hernia, and then like struggled there. And I remember that first game back, we played at Sacramento Republic, and like I remember like that, you know, they have amazing atmosphere there, 10,000 fans and everything. And I remember just like I had played there 3 or 4 times before with Orange County and everything, and even when I was training with them, I played an exhibition game. But like that game was like the most memorable game for me, because I was like I didn't take it for granted before, but like I never truly appreciated like how much I missed it and how much like I loved it. So that game, I was like, I still think about that game now, and I always tell myself like, don't get it slipped in that mindset where I was before, which wasn't even bad, but just really appreciate like every single minute, even at training, you know, like appreciate every single rondo, every single training session. Because you've had it, it's gone. Like you've had it being taken away before, and you just know how much you miss it, how much it sucks, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And so what year was this? That Philadelphia, was that 2016?
2015.
2015?
Yeah.
Okay. And then so you joined RGV in 2016.
2016, yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, it was like the turnaround for your professional career. Like explain that. Like how did it go there that first year?
So RGV, it was a first year team at the time. They were affiliates with the Dynamo, which really drew me in. But you know, we got there and they put us in these like college dorms. And like not in the best part of town. And the field that we were training on was the college field there, RGV Toros. We were training on the game field because our facility, you know, wasn't done yet. We kept hearing about this great facilities coming in, practice facility, this great you know, $40 million stadium. Everything that they have now was, you know, supposed to be ready for that first year. And we kept hearing the stadium's going to be ready in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks. And throughout the entire year, it never got finished in time, unfortunately. But eventually the training facility they got it working. And so I think it was like summertime, but you know, for the first, you know, 4 months we were training on this college field. We're walking to training every day, and it's hot as can be.
So you lived in the dorms that whole first year?
For the majority of that year, until enough people had their cars broken into, where they said, okay, we'll move you guys. And so they moved us into different apartments later that year. But it was this whole thing. Yeah.
And now, like, even though it was in the USL, did that, just playing games and having a good season, that you re-motivate you to make another push up? And that season you played games with Houston Dynamo, right?
No, that was the next season.
The next season.
Yeah.
Okay.
That first full season it actually kind of started rocky. I had a hamstring strain, and it was going to be like a week out. And the guy that they had, love the guy, by the way, but the guy that they had as our head athletic trainer was someone that was just fresh out of college, like had just worked as like one of the assistants there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was our head guy. And I just remember him like trying to do like some resistive stretching with me.
Yeah.
On my hamstring that was injured. And I remember him like laying on top of me and just remember my hamstring tearing on the table. And like it tore and I like was like, get off of me. And so it knocked me out for about 6 to 8 weeks. And Wilmer, if he is like, you need to be playing, you know, like, and if you have a hamstring injury, you need to be back within a week. And if not, then I think that you're not taking it seriously. So I had to like, I was in our first end of the year meeting that year, Wilmer goes, I'll be honest with you, I hated you. So I absolutely hated you. I was like, okay, fair enough. I was like, I didn't think that you wanted it. I didn't think that, you know, you were, you know, a winner, all this stuff. He was like, but, you know, as the season went on, once I finally got back, I started playing more and more. First as like a kind of a super sub role. And then eventually like in the last, you know, 15 games, I played pretty much every minute. And, you know, so went on, had a good run of, you know, scoring and stuff. And yeah, like I said, like we finished second in the West that year. Yeah. And it was just first year team, kind of a, you know, unheard of, a bunch of guys from nowhere. And so we, that was, you know, after that season ended, Wilmer got promoted to manager of the Dynamo, and he was trying to bring guys with him. And so he ended up bringing, I think it was like 6 of us signed with the first team after that.
Did you train at all with Houston during that time, that first year?
Not that first year.
Were you nervous at all or worried because like you came there hoping for affiliation with Houston, and like if you're not training with them, did you think like, oh, how close is this affiliation? Are you worried about that at all?
Not really. There were guys that were going back and forth, so I knew that it was a possibility. They were good about that. So like certain guys would fly up. Actually, Kevin did it a couple times, and Jose Escalante, I don't know if you remember, Honduran guy. Yeah, he was the first one. So in the summer, he actually got signed by the Dynamo. Okay. From our team. And so it was like, okay, this is cool. And then at the very end of summer, like the day before the window closed, they signed Kevin as well in that same window. So, you know, we're seeing movement between the two. And so
you're seeing it as a possibility.
Movement, a possibility, but really focused on just wanting to win every game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. You win, everything else is going to take care of itself. Yeah, and it did. So you signed the back in the MLS contract, and that was 2017. Now coming into the 2017 season, and did that MLS contract, did that mean more than your first MLS contract because you had gotten back up there, like returned?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was definitely a testament to not giving up. And just, I'd always believed that I could play at that level and hang with those guys, even in Philly. And so it was just nice to kind of get that reaffirmed, or, you know, have a little bit of, you know, belief in me. And so, yeah, I guess you could say that it definitely meant more the second time around.
Yeah. And then you got to get out of McAllen, Texas. Not that, you know, Texas isn't great. McAllen isn't great, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
But now you're going to Houston. How was the move into Houston?
Houston was, it wasn't that terrible because, or wasn't that much of a difference because Wilmer was there. And he had expectations. And he didn't really change based on his demeanor of what he expected on the field, I guess you could say. And so I was used to his environment of how he motivates players, how he speaks to players, and all that kind of the dynamics between that. So it wasn't too much of a change. Obviously the cities are a change. Yeah. But the playing style itself was the same. Obviously there was more quality players. So that was a change, but like the structure of the sessions and everything was really similar.
Yeah, that's nice. Again, like a nice transition in. You're not coming in. It's kind of almost like with college, like you had that easier transition into the team with being there over summer. Here
Right.
you knew the coach, you knew a few guys coming in. It's not like you showed up day one.
Right.
And then walk us through 2017 season now with Houston.
So, I played every game with RGV. That year, I started every game, and then I started a couple Open Cup games with the Dynamo.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those, again, play as many times as you possibly can, work in with the group. It was, to this date, my healthiest season, being able to play. I think it was 35 games in a year. So just,
which is a lot, which
a
is
good
massive.
body of work.
Games.
Yeah. It sounds like it doesn't sound like a lot, I guess, but
yeah, it's
does.
Funny. I just said that. I'm like, wait, that's not a lot compared to like other.
These European guys are doing like 50, 60 in a year.
Yeah,
but
it's insane. But also, I mean, the USL is a pretty compact season, especially back in, even more so like in 2017, 2016. It would go from like March through September, pretty much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the travel.
Were you traveling every weekend or every game down to RGV? Or
yeah, and I would go up to train with the Dynamo sometimes, for like a week at a time. But I was, based in RGV.
Mm-hmm. Did you have 2 apartments then?
I would literally go up and just stay with George Malky and Charlie Ward.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I just had one in RGV, but would stay with those guys whenever I'd come up.
Gotcha. I think I played against George Malky. He went to
Cal Poly.
Yeah, Cal Poly.
Yeah,
I played against him.
He's a legend. Shout out to Malky.
And then so you played every game, 35 games now. Said it was like the healthiest spell that you've had.
Yeah.
Were you getting to the point like where you had complete trust in your body again? Like, did you ever lose that in the first place, or like how did
there's
that go?
always been like a like, not mistrust, but definitely, don't do this to me. Mm-hmm. Don't give up on me.
Yeah.
The head and the body, they don't always get along, but no, yeah, I think that after that season, I knew that it was possible. There was times in the season where I felt like I'm going to pull every muscle in my body if I play this game, but then I go play it and I make it through.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely one of those, it's a lot of it is mental. Like, it really is. You've got to wrap your head around being able to play on a Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday in Sacramento, a Wednesday in Seattle, and then next Saturday back home in McAllen. Like, you've got to wrap your head around it. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And the sooner you do that, the better off you'll be.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And then 2018, you obviously did well, like with RGV and everything.
Yeah.
Backing up, did you just sign a 1 year? How did that go?
In 2017.
Yeah, when you signed with the Dynamo.
It's 3 option years.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So they picked up your option.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How was the option, or was it a team option or player option?
Team option always.
Team option
for
always.
those contracts. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you nervous signing it's different. It's so different in the US too, because the options are like team options, and like you'll do that, like signing that, like, were you nervous signing a team option and signing something where it's like, it's not 100% in your hands and in your control?
Yeah. I mean,
or again, were you just kind of like, I just want to play?
Not for me. Yeah. To me, I was like, I'm in the top division. This is where I want to be playing. This is who I want to be competing with. And so wherever I am, it sucks that they kind of control the next 4 years of my life, but at the same time, this is what I want to be doing. So
yeah. I mean, I would sign it in an instant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just curious.
They also don't give you very much choice. You know, it's either take it or leave. So
yeah, I'm just curious what's going through people's heads when it comes like that kind of stuff. And then, so how was 2018?
2018 was a lot better. In terms of, I actually got my debut with the Dynamo in Montreal. I played and started. We actually we won the Open Cup that year.
Did you?
So played in the first 3 rounds of the Open Cup, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then the semifinals, finals, we won. Made the bench in the final, which was cool.
Yeah, that's sick.
And then I started 4 games that year.
Mm-hmm.
And made appearances in a couple others. So it was like a step forward from, the year before. And again, we didn't make the playoffs, but we were a talented team, still trying to we knew that we're like kind of streaky, as you could see with the Open Cup. We felt like we could win any game at home.
Mm-hmm.
But just as soon as we got on the road, we would just kind of self-implode, and
mm-hmm.
we gave up a lot of really tough results, bad score lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was for like individually, it was something that, I was proud of. I made the bench. I think it was, majority of the games,
mm-hmm.
played in some of them, and only went down to RGV for 2 or 3 games
mm-hmm.
that year. So it was, positive stuff.
So this year, did you have the apartment in Houston?
Yeah, and I was full-time Houston.
And then when you went down, did you just stay with guys down there, or did they set you up in
the hotel? Yeah,
in the hotel.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good then. So it's like you're kind of like transitioning more setting down roots that year.
For sure, yeah.
Uh-huh. And then so that was also like your MLS debut, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Montreal?
Yeah.
How was that?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so cool. It was like the perfect night, the perfect Canadian summer night.
Mm-hmm.
Like the weather was perfect. The pitch was perfect there in Montreal. It was I remember like but I remember the very first corner kick they had, like within the first, I think it was like 5 minutes or whatever. And I just remember like Ignacio Piatti getting the ball and like cutting in, or no, he didn't even cut in. A ball popped out to him and he hit it first time, and he just cracked the ball off the crossbar. And it was like one of those oh shit moments of like, damn, all right.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, like like you need to be ready to go, because this guy is not playing around. Like, and he is a top player for sure. But that was
awesome.
That was like one of the things I remember most about my debut is just being in the heat of it in the first 5 minutes and just like wake up call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any like favorite moments that year, like with MLS games that stick out to you?
Let me think. I think my best moment was in New York. I played against the Red Bull and went the full 90, and we ended up losing the game actually. But I remember playing really well, and one of the assistant coaches coming to me after the game saying that he thought I was the best player on the pitch.
Wow, from your team, or is it the Red Bulls?
Like, yeah, he said from on the pitch. So
no, which coach was it?
Oh, from our team. Yeah.
Oh, from your team. Yeah. Okay.
So maybe he was biased.
But. Yeah. but still, that's a good compliment.
So so that was pretty cool, and he was just encouraging me to keep going. And again, it was just one of those like, okay, like you're here, got to keep going.
Yeah,
can't stop.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
If not that, then definitely the Open Cup.
Yeah.
For sure.
Winning that, or like
winning that, being on the field, celebrating with the guys.
Won a lot, huh? Had good, successful.
Sometimes,
Sometimes
I get lucky.
No, that's pretty cool. I remember it's funny back in I was at St. Louis. We had this Open Cup. We had a decent run where we finally got to play. Actually, it was against the Red Bulls. We got to play the Red Bulls, and I remember being very frustrated because like I had played the first like 3 games. I felt like killed it, did really well in those games, but you kind of, sometimes they put in like I wasn't starting at the time, so I was kind of like the second string. I was getting put in for those, but I thought I was doing extremely well, best games. And then finally, like we were going to play the Red Bulls, and I got taken out, put on the bench, and I was just so frustrated. Like, dang, I should be playing against the MLS team. But that's how it works.
Yeah.
And they want to win, and they're going to put out who they think is the starting lineup at the time. But yeah, I mean, I had a lesser version of that where he kind of pulled out of the starting lineup, and
yeah.
But no, that's cool though. And then so they picked up your option again for 2019. And I'm assuming that you were probably feeling pretty confident going after that season that you're going to get that option picked up again.
Yeah, I felt more confident for sure going into that meeting, and it was all really positive. And yeah, I just remember them saying, you had a little bit of success this year, but next year you need to play. Like you need to play a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, go have your off season, but make sure you're
ready.
Yeah, you're ready to go when you get back.
Yeah. And how did you come back? Did you come back ready?
I felt like it. I feel like I was playing the best soccer I had been playing or I'd ever played for the Dynamo in that preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first month, I think it was, just felt real confident, knew my teammates really well, knew what he wanted, and everything was going really well. And then we were playing a small sided game, and I remember it was wet out, and I remember taking a shot, and the ball was gone. It was a late tackle. Ball was gone, and I just remember planting, and one of the guys, Minor Figueroa, comes through my plant leg, absolutely crushes my ankle. I still have stud marks in my shin.
Oh yeah.
So he hit me once there, and then once right on the ankle.
Dang, so he really came in with studs.
Oh, he was coming in. Well, we won't get into that, but he got me, and what was it? I ruptured 2 ligaments in my ankle, and I had cartilage damage down to the bone. So every time I was in full flexion, like foot was like this, I was completely bone to bone. Couldn't put any weight on it. Like just done. Another one where I was like, trying to run, or I knew that it happened, knew it was bad, tried to run. Yeah. I remember it was right before we were leaving to go to Tucson, and Wilmer was like, you'll be ready, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'll be ready. I went to the doctor, got the MRI, x-rays, whatever. And he was like, yep, you're going to be out for 6 months, at least, minimum.
That sucks.
Yeah.
What do you do to make all these players tackle you like that?
I'm just wrong place, wrong time, I swear.
I mean, that 3...
I never kick anybody.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can see even in these kind of trainings with our team, like it's especially in the center, like it gets chippy. It's tight. You're always in contact with somebody, and then if you can't back out, so it's unlucky.
I'll be honest. I've done my fair share of kicks over the years, but in these 2 specific circumstances, I was not the instigator. Did not do anything to provoke these guys. It was just, like I said, bad timing.
Yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time. So
sucks.
But he got me. Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. Needed surgery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So needed surgery. I was on one of those knee scooter things for about, I think it was 12 weeks, which sucks because
it's a long time
to get my groceries in and out, and being on the scooter, I was, it was some times where I was just, there was no like handicap access from the parking garage to the actual building where I was living. So I was having to like 1-footed hop downstairs with a scooter in hand, with my groceries in the other hand.
Jeez.
Definitely wiped out a couple times. It was just, it sucked. But yeah.
Was that the worst injury, you think? Or the knee?
I would say the knee was harder to come back from, but in terms of pain, I think the ankle was harder. Just not being able to put weight on it for that long.
Yeah.
And just Yeah. And it's just something that's going to be there for the rest of my career. Like the knee, I don't really do too much for. But the ankle, I still get injections and stuff so that I can play. Like if I don't, because you can't recreate cartilage, so there's nothing really there. So if I want to play, I've got to get actual treatment.
Yeah.
To be able to keep doing that. So I'd say that this ankle is definitely the tougher of probably of the two long term.
Yeah, that sucks. And so, I mean, 6 months now, you're midsummer coming back. And did you make your return on time or?
I did. Again, through pain, but I knew I had a little sliver of hope that if I could get back and play with RGV for 16 games or however much it was, that they might give me another shot. Just, maybe they'd say decline your option, bring it into preseason.
Yeah.
Because at that time, or I didn't know it at the time, but we weren't doing well. Wilmer he actually ended up getting fired at the second half of that year, in the second half of that year. So like it was a new coach and everything. So sliver of hope was, there's a new coach coming in.
First impression.
Yeah, whatever. They know me, the GM, again, like I know that he's a fan of mine. It was just, I guess it wasn't meant to be, but.
Yeah. How was that? Like, again, what's going through your head? Like they say, oh, we're not going to pick up your option after that season. Are you thinking like, okay, are you panicking? Are you thinking like you have more hope? Are you like getting nervous about being a free agent again? Or what are you thinking?
Definitely bummed. I felt like my year was robbed from me, through no fault of my own. But having been through it before, I think that helped me a lot. And I knew that I wanted to play still because I'd come back that year and done okay in those 16 games. So I knew I wanted to play and I didn't know where I was going to be, but yeah, I was definitely, optimistic about it. And then obviously, it worked out with Tulsa and stuff. So,
because now we're coming into 2020. When did you sign? Did you sign early on or?
Yeah. So it was, Mike likes to get his stuff kind of done early.
Yeah.
And, it was right after. I remember them wanting to sign me to sign the papers before Houston like officially said, we don't want you. And we had to keep like telling them, hold on, like Eric would love to be there, but at the same time, like if this opportunity is still there, then that's the one he would rather go to, or that's the one that he would rather be at. And so it was like days after they didn't pick up my option that I signed here. So it was never really a huge period of time where
you were doing the free agency and panicking.
Yeah.
That's good. And then were you nervous because that was like the rebranding year? So I mean, in 2019 we had a terrible year and we were third to last in season. Were you nervous coming to a team that was third to last, bottom of the table? And even though we had more money coming in and we were rebranding, was that scary for you? Because not only are you going down from an MLS contract to a USL contract, but you're also going to a USL contract that last year these guys were not performing.
Right. Short answer, no, not really. It's funny. As soon as Mike called me and I spoke to him, I texted Bradley, because our paths had crossed when he was with the Dynamo and I was with RGV. And I asked him, I just was like, what do you think about Tulsa? And he goes, hold on. And then he calls me and we spoke for like 30 minutes and he was, being recruited by them as well. And so once I knew that he was getting pulled in, and he knew that I was or whatever, I knew that they were, there would be quality players that they were going to bring in. And he told me about Lebo and Matt Sheldon, of course. Who else? Rodrigo, whatever. So I knew that there was going to be quality here. And then I got even more happy when Kevin signed up.
Yeah, because you pretty much facilitated that, huh?
Yeah, he was looking to go to Europe, and then the whole COVID thing kind of hit, and last minute I was like, well, let me put in a call.
Yeah. We talked to my people.
And eventually, he
did you get his agent's fee? You got money for that?
I didn't. I should though.
What?
I really should.
Yeah, maybe Kevin can help you out.
Have a word with him, please.
Because, I will. We'll have him on here soon, and then I'll talk to him about that. 2 things that I got to talk to him about now. No, it's funny. And then so last year, another surgery in 2020. I don't want to say you got lucky with the timing because injuries are never lucky, really. But honestly, it was kind of best case scenario.
It's the best timing of a surgery I've ever had.
Yeah. And when you had the second sports hernia, which is crazy because I think, like, I remember. I don't know if I heard this or someone told me this or I read this somewhere, but like 80% of people or something, this is, don't quote me on this, but like a high percentage amount of people who have one sports hernia end up getting, especially if you continue to play professionally, get it on the opposite side as well later on, whether that's a year later, 3 years later or whatever.
Really?
Yeah. So that's just what I've heard. And so I heard that after my first one and they're like, it's probably going to happen on the other side. Yeah. So when it happened on your other side, right? Other side?
Yeah, other side.
Did you know immediately?
Yeah. I remember like, because they were kind of hesitant to get the MRI. And I just remember being like, hey, I think I need an MRI like over and over and over again until I got one. Yeah.
And that was like in preseason. And then so you were out for the first game when we played Sacramento and then COVID hit. And then we had like you said, 3 months of doing nothing, which was perfect for your recovery and rehab. Yep. But I remember you were in there like day 2. You were there at Holland Hall with us, like sitting on that was at Callum. But you were there somewhere. It was Holland Hall.
Holland Hall.
It was Holland Hall. Yeah. Callum also did that, I think, too, but he was an idiot about it.
No, I think it took him at least 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember seeing you and being like, why are you here? Because for me, it was like a week. I could not get out of bed without Mimi pulling me out. And you were like walking around, getting up by yourself, and I was shocked.
Yeah, I don't even know if he did anything, to be honest.
But pain's gone?
Pain is gone.
And because you were back in training in 4 weeks?
Yeah. For this one was by far the easiest one for sure.
I mean, 4 weeks is insane.
Yeah.
And did you ever feel complications with it afterwards?
Not really, not too much. I guess in the off season, I did a lot of biking. I felt it kind of flare up a little bit, but it's turned out to be nothing.
That was now your 4th surgery, right?
We missed a couple
through skipped some.
There was
because you have had 6
emergency appendectomy, which I don't know if that really counts. I don't count it. Okay, and then I had another that was in college, and then before the 2018 season, I had knee surgery on that same knee again.
Really?
Yeah. I had to remove all of the equipment out of my knee because it had shattered.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had a screw that was shattered, and it was like causing this sharp pain, and I thought it was my meniscus. And one day it'd be really sharp pain. I say, it's right here. It's right where my meniscus was. And the trainer would be like, yeah, you might. And then the very next day it'd be completely gone. Huh. And then, so I went home and got an x-ray, and then they saw, it was like, oh yeah, you've got pieces of screw all over your knee. Oh my God. So they had to go in and take that out.
So 6 surgeries in total?
Yeah.
Dang.
Plus wisdom teeth.
Wisdom teeth. No. I'll give you the appendectomy and the knee, the second one.
That one was just crazy because I came in like to train that morning in college, and within 10 minutes of being there, like I was being rushed to the hospital. Wow. And they're like, you're getting your appendix out today. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Dang. So I mean, even with this sports hernia now, because you were 26 at the time, right? And now having 6 surgeries, 7 if you count wisdom teeth. Yeah. Were you thinking like ever had like the why me, or you were like, why is this happening, or like maybe I'm completely injury prone and I should stop, or were you just like, nope, it's just another one, get it done and I'll be back?
Yeah, it's more like the soldier mentality of just, what doesn't kill me will make me stronger. And yeah, I think if anyone, anyone that knows me really well would tell you that I'm one of the most stubborn people of all time, or that they have ever known. And I think this is a testament to that. I'm very stubborn, and I just love playing, love the feeling of being out there, and the feeling in the locker room with the guys. And so I'm not ready to give that up.
Yeah. And tell me, like, cause I mean, I've had a few surgeries and I've had a few injuries that nothing like as many as you had, but still I've had quite a few. And like, I always feel like people have like, especially posting on YouTube all the time, people are like, oh, you're injury prone. And like, you're never playing. Like to me, I kind of was like, well, I always felt like the injuries were a tiny part of my career. Like I felt like I was playing more and healthy way more. And I just had unlucky spells at times. And like I just was like, oh no, like I'm not injury, but like it's, and then especially as you list out every single one throughout your whole career, they're always going to add up.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you agree with that? Like, do you think that, or do you think no? I've had like I am injury prone, or I've been unlucky, because the thing is too with yours, tackles have been the majority for you.
Yeah.
Versus me, I've had a lot of not self-inflicted, but like tears and pulls and stuff like that.
No, I would 100% say that people can be injury prone. I don't think I am, because of the nature of the surgeries, or like the circumstances surrounding the what led to the surgeries. But it's definitely something that it's hard to escape if you have gone through that kind of, if you have that history.
Yeah. I always hate it. That was one of my biggest pet peeves when people said I was injury prone.
Like some people, some people are just ridiculously quick. Like you just can't keep their hamstrings together. It's just, it's just, some people are just built like that, I guess. I don't even know if it's. Yeah.
Biomechanics is huge for different injuries and like your range of motion, or like, it's just crazy.
It makes sense for like, I don't think you're injury prone because you like are the Iron Man of our team, but now you are. Yeah. But it would make sense if you were, because, you are a quick guy on the outside that's making these lung busting runs. It doesn't make sense for a guy like me. I just sit in the middle and just try and make everyone else look good. I don't, really break into a sprint hardly ever. I hope I never have to, really, but so it doesn't really make sense for me. But like, guys that are really doing the tough, hard runs, it would make sense, because that's when your body's, the most stressed. But
yeah, because that like 2017 at St. Louis was like, I felt like it was like, had the stigma of like, oh, what is it now? What is it now? Is it the ankle? I had stupid ones, dislocated toe, ankle sprains, like fractured a wrist, like just stupid, like whatever. I'm like, why? and I hated that. I'm like, oh yeah, like what is it now? Like, come on. It just pissed me off. And then, but 2020, despite the sports hernia, despite the COVID pandemic and everything, we still got back, and you played in every single game, right? 15 games that season.
Yeah, except for I didn't play Sporting because I got a red card.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. So good season, played well. We made it to playoffs and everything. How was that season in like the grand scheme of your career? Was it one of the better ones, or like how did you feel?
It was so different. It's hard to compare it to the rest of them, just because the nature of it, and just the bus trips and just regional play, and obviously all the protocols that we had to kind of adhere by. But it was like it didn't even feel like a real full season, to be honest.
Yeah.
I walked away from that feeling like we need to play 20 more games.
I did the same thing. I felt robbed. Like I felt 100 like just robbed. Like why 15 like that? It sucked.
So I was, overall happy with, what we did. I loved the group of players. Like we had some really great guys. I miss a lot of the guys that aren't here anymore, but it was good to get back in and be with like a standalone team where you're not worried about loans and where you're going to be on the weekend, and like kind of making it your own and being with a group of guys that are like-minded, that are like, I'm here for this team, don't care about anything else, want to win here. And so like it was such a good building block. I feel like we said it so much in like interviews and stuff. It was such a good building block because it was pretty brief and it gave us that little taste. And we have such a good core coming back now that it's it's something to really look forward to this year and then, beyond if you want to sign back on with us.
Definitely. And so now coming back, I mean, I felt like for me coming back from 2020 to 2021, it was like a no-brainer because you said it felt like a building block. You said it was like you almost felt robbed from not playing that many games. So for me, I was like, yeah, there's 100%. If they want me back, I'm going to be back here for 2021. Did you think the same thing for you last season at the end? You're like, I just want to be back and hopefully have an even better season?
Yeah. Well, they had an option on me again, so I signed a 1-1. So I kind of figured I was going to be back. And then obviously with the whole rebrand and just the way the team was and how competitive we were, it was, like you said, a no-brainer I really do believe that this is a special city, a special place, with really, really special owners and, a good support system that, you could get so much out of this team if you put, if you really want to put and invest in it.
Yeah. Definitely. And then so for this year now, I mean, we're pretty much all caught up, but how are you feeling this preseason, coming back in again, returning? How's your body been feeling? How's everything going?
It's been feeling pretty good. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to get going because
we're close.
We're so close. It is what now? Almost 6 months maybe since a competitive game. Like maybe more.
The off season was rough. This is the
worst off season.
I mean, how was that 4-month off season for you?
Yeah, it sucked really. I mean, it sucked, but at the same time, it wasn't terrible. We went back to DC where she was living for about a month, and we hung out there. And I have friends there that live there from college, and so it was good to see some old faces and kind of see what she'd been up to the last 10 years of her life, and then
you guys are wondering who he's referring to. It's your girlfriend Carly.
Yeah, my girlfriend Carly.
Who you rekindled that middle school relationship back up with.
That's right. And
still now you're living.
And now she's moved out here.
She moved out to Tulsa. Yeah.
Yep. But so it was good to see, from a day in the life of her, and being in DC is always fun. My grandparents actually live up there, and so being near all the monuments and it's just like a pretty scenic, really, kind of cool place. But and then we went back to Virginia Beach, obviously, and spent a month and a half, 2 months there, and just got all the time in with the family. And
family time wise, it was amazing.
Yeah.
This off season.
Oh yeah. But there was plenty of there was too much downtime of just not playing, and everyone's felt like I felt like everyone was scattered because most years we have so many people come back to play, pick up and stuff. This year was not as many people coming back to play, but also if people were back there not even really trying to play because everyone was spooked. Everyone just didn't want to risk it. And then it's mostly not for themselves, but just to go out, play pickup, and bring it home to their parents or something, So it was just tough to get all those things set up, unlike in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, we were doing full on if new people come in Portland too. It was Portland, so people were like, "Hey, have you had a COVID test lately?" and everything. And I was and some people even training with masks a few times, and it's just insane how different it was this off season.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, I mean, we're caught up and we're all through your career, which has been a crazy story. But now I'll just ask like a few, like 4 or 5 questions just to round it up.
Okay.
But I always ask this because everybody always wants to know. But I think it's such a hard question to answer because as footballers kind of living this life, you don't really plan. You have goals, but you don't really plan.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you see yourself in the next over the next 5 years? Are you still playing? Do you still want to try to keep on playing at the highest level you possibly can? Are you trying to make a push anywhere else? Do you have any other goals that you're thinking about?
In my head right now, I've always had the goal to play for 10 years. So I want to be playing, till about 31, I guess, at the very minimum. If I'm, still wanted and, it makes sense, then I hope I'm still playing. That would be the dream, to keep playing. But yeah, I think if I'm not playing, then I would be involved in some type of way with the game.
Mm-hmm. Coaching, like head coach role? Like, would you want to be a pro coach or more like younger?
It's tough. I'd want to, get my badges and kind of see if I like it and, what, if it really is my calling. I would obviously, try it out.
Yeah. I mean, you were talking to me about your ideal, how you'd be set up your training session.
Yeah, exactly.
As we're walking into the room.
Well, I'm always thinking about it, but there are certain people that should be coaches and there are certain people that shouldn't. And so, I think that I can add value. I don't know exactly where it is right now. But yeah, it'll be ideally in the next, 5 years, I'll be involved in the game somehow and potentially maybe going back to school if soccer's done.
For masters?
A master's. There's a program at VCU. It's a master's in sport leadership and business administration. It's a dual master's.
Okay.
I'm really interested in getting that. My biggest fear is being underqualified for any gig in the future. So just to check the boxes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what it is this year, or is nowadays.
Yeah, it is. It's true. And I think like you said, like peace of mind too, like the imposter syndrome, like to not like have self-doubt in your head a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I got the certified nutrition coach thing. I felt like I had a great grasp on it already, but I just wanted that for that. Like, am I really, do I not know actually? So I got that and I was like, okay, good. Whew, feel more confident about it now,
Yeah.
And then what was been like the highest and lowest periods of your career? Like the absolute highest high you've ever had playing the game and the absolute darkest, deepest hole you've been in?
The highest high, I would say, was emotionally, it was probably after the national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool because it was in Raleigh and my mom was there. And so, because it's just, 3-hour drive from our house. So it was really cool to be able to share that moment with her. My dad was there too. Obviously, it was cool to share it with him as well. But
yeah, come on, I'm gonna share with your dad.
My mom put in so much, so many hours on so many different weekends to drive me all over the place, all up and down the East Coast. And at the time, she had no idea, this was going to be something that I did in the future. There was no guarantees attached to it. And so I just, I know that it meant a lot to her and it equally meant as much to me. And to be able to be there together was by far the best moment that I've had on a soccer pitch, because they were able to come onto the pitch afterwards. And
that's awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was really, really cool.
That's I mean, that's literally like the dream of like winning the national championship your senior year, families there celebrating all together. That's pretty cool. What about lowest?
Gosh, we got to go to the lows, huh?
That's what I want to balance it out.
Lowest low, I think we talked about it. I think my lowest point would probably be after my knee injury, my freshman year. It was I felt like I was playing the best soccer of my life to that point. I felt like The team was doing really well. A lot of things were going in my favor. I had heard, stuff about agents reaching out to, try and get in contact. Maybe being able to leave college early to just go and play professionally. And so just kind of having to deal with that whole thing, and also just like being inside that nightmare scenario that they always tell you about when you pick your college, make sure you like your college because you could get a career ending injury. The first day you step on campus, you're going to be, make sure that you're going to want to be where you are. And you always, take it with a grain of salt and think, that's not going to be me.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, that was me. And so that was just coming to terms with all of that and just like being all the way up here from a freshman starter, just completely grounded.
Yeah.
It was definitely hard to process, but
I think that's the worst when you're just at your highest high. And then you like the roll. I always say like the game is like a roller coaster of emotions, like with the highs and the peaks and the valleys and everything. But when you go because you always go like middle to low, low, middle to high. But if you go from the drastic change of high down to low, that like mentally is so hard.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific day that like it hit, or was it just like in general? I'm really digging into this.
Yeah. I would say, I don't know if it was a specific day, but I do remember like vividly laying on my college bed, in my dorm, and my roommate not being there. He was in class, and just like looking at the ceiling saying, why me?
Yeah.
Like, God, why me?
Yeah.
And I just remember, getting emotional after that, and just, nobody came, no one knew what I was going through. No one, came to console me. I was on my own, and which I think was good, like in hindsight, because you need to have those moments. But it was definitely a low, and it was like one of those things where you like realize you're not as strong as you're not as tough as you think you are. And so it's like a motivating thing almost to say, okay, I'm not the person that I thought I was, not yet, but I can be better. I can be more mentally tough, but it's only going to happen with humility. And this is a situation of humility for sure.
That's really good. That's a good outlook on that. I think every footballer has had that moment of just like whatever, whether it's injury, free agency, or just that like, why me? And I always feel like it hits at one moment, whether it's usually by yourself,
Yeah.
Like I've had that moment like a couple times. It sucks. And then I'll finish off right here with the last question. Most of the people that are watching the podcast right now are kids that want to follow in your footsteps. They want to go, win a national championship. They want to be drafted in the MLS. They want to have MLS appearances. What would be a piece of advice that you would give them, and telling them around teenage level, even college level? What would you tell them to follow in your footsteps?
In the college level or
high school, college, whatever.
High school?
Yeah. If you have multiple, you can say multiple, whatever comes to your head.
Yeah, I think it would vary based on your age.
All right, let's do one. I want to do one.
Okay.
16, like in high school.
Okay.
Freshman year of college. And then let's do somebody injured. 3.
Okay. So 16, like
16.
before college.
Yeah. High school, college, injured.
Okay. I think the biggest piece of advice for a kid in college is it's not too late. I think it's now sexy to go overseas to become a pro as soon as you hit 17, 18. And I think that's okay for some people, but I still think that the United States provides this platform, college soccer, where if you use all the resources around you, it can still catapult you to that next level. And it's never too late. I say that because at 18, or we'll say in college, I almost felt like I was done developing. Like I felt like, there wasn't, I don't know. I just felt like, not that I couldn't get better, but I just felt like, I am where I am, and the focus on the game have now just shifted to just results. Mm-hmm. And I lost the development because I was just focused on results. Uh-huh. And so I feel like those kids in college, results are important, yes, mm-hmm. but there's also a bigger picture. And I hope your coaches will tell you that even if you're, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 27, you can still get better. Mm-hmm. You can still stay after practice every single day and hit crosses if mm-hmm. you're an outside back or winger. You can still, work on your finishing if you're a striker. You can still work on that ping if you're a center mid, because if you want to make it to the MLS and to the next level, you have to hit that ball perfectly mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, mm-hmm. if not, 99 times out of 100.
Yeah.
And you can always get better. And these guys, I hear all these stories now about like guys like Paul Scholes and people that played with him, people that didn't play with him, they'd see these unbelievable volleys and be like, wow, this guy, this is incredible. What an incredible shot. Yeah. And then you'd hear guys that played with him and they'd say, Scholesy would literally stay after practice every single day mm-hmm. and do this exact same thing. And he would bins, 9 out of 10 of them.
Yeah.
Like he would do the same thing, but he would do it on a consistent basis in practice. Like it's no secret as to why that worked in the game. Mm-hmm. And he was doing that his whole career. Like that's just how they were brought up. And it's fun too.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's crazy too, because he's at like the top. Like there's maybe you could say there's argues maybe places you could go incrementally better, but that's the top.
Like Liverpool.
How's that today?
Over Man United.
But that's like the top. And I feel like even for me, if I was at the top, it'd be so hard to not be like, I'm here. Yeah. Even not like fully like that, but have a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because even now it's easy for me to have motivation to stay after net crosses, because it's like I'm in the USL, mm-hmm. Yeah. But like being there and doing that every day is insane.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me. And I agree. It's funny because in college, that's when it almost clicked for me. Like I can develop. Like if the more time I put in, the more I can develop, because I saw like I was so behind in some areas. So like, I still feel like I'm improving technically, crossing, long balls, like my touch. And I'm 28 now, turning 29. And maybe I can't. Maybe I did lose something from not developing that at 16, 17, 18, but I agree. Like, it doesn't end.
No, it doesn't. For 16-year-olds, I'm big into for younger kids. Obviously, the whole technical side is so important, and the more touches you can get on the ball, the better. I think that it's a lot of it is now not fading away, but it's maybe not much of an emphasis put on it as much now. I think intangibles are so important. And I think that if you focus not only on being a great soccer player, but also the intangible stuff like being a good person, a good teammate, a good professional, good, or professional, like you're not a professional yet, but, carrying yourself the right way, how you treat other people, it is going to pay like dividends into the future for you in so many ways. It's so important to have all of that stuff and to really work on that side. And that goes hand in hand with the mental side of the game, because you have so many players that are so technical, so gifted, but they fall short on the mental side.
Yeah.
And that's what sets players apart from level to level. I think that the abilities of these players and these different levels is not as far as people really think. Mm-hmm. What sets these players apart is the mental side of the game, and so those two, the intangibles and the mental side, if you can work on those, I think that there are a lot of mental strength coaches out there, or different practices that you can probably get involved with. I don't know, maybe Shelly knows someone that he can set you up, but it's definitely something that is often overlooked, but I think as important as anything that you can do on the pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think most players like quit or stop or like can't handle when they go up a level. It's not because of technically or they can't develop or handle the speed. It's always like a mental problem.
Yeah.
Whether that's like I can't handle the pressure. Oh, they can't handle riding the bench. They can't handle the stress that comes with, being a free agent at times. Like all, like you said, like intangibles. Like it's important, and it's hard to like really describe what that is. You kind of have to go through it. I mean, I thought you did a good job, but like, it is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people want to help people that are good people. I mean,
I know. I mean, I know I've literally been like, hey, we need a left back, and I will have like a left back or somebody in my head. I'm like, oh, well, he's a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I want that as a teammate?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So then last one, and then you can get out of here. For injured, someone who's going through an injury, someone who's at that lowest point right now in their career.
That's at that lowest point. I would say the biggest piece of advice, I mean, I would say, I got to think about this for a second.
No, for me, I always say like my piece of advice when it comes to that is like, people always say, oh, be positive. And I think it's wrong to be positive in that situation. I always say like, you have to be healthy with your mindset. Cause it's like, there's no positive thing around being on crutches in your dorm room, not being able to do anything fun, but it's like, at least have the healthy mindset of like what you kind of did of just like, look, I can grow from this, and I can go and I'll do the rehab and be healthy on that aspect. But like, I don't have to be positive and be like happy during this time.
Yeah.
And that's what helped me, especially during the later ones. I'm like, because at the beginning, I'm like, I try to be happy. Like I'm not happy sitting here on the sideline watching everybody train.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, I would just say you don't have to be perfect, but every day obviously counts. There's going to be days where you're doing really well and you think you're ahead of schedule and you're flying, and there's going to be days where you feel like you're behind the schedule. And it's hard, like Shelly says, with the roller coaster, but there's a bigger picture that's going on. And so if you take it day by day, that's important. And
the day by day is huge.
Yeah.
Like
one day
instead
at a
of
time.
like focusing on that, I would always focus on like the little, like, oh, I could only walk 0.5 miles today, but tomorrow I'm doing 0.75. And you do that, you're like all pumped about that, like 0.7 miles.
Yeah.
Like, I think that helps. Like seeing getting happy on the little successes, the little progress.
And it's just, it's a time that is not fun, like Shelly said, but it's a time for character building. And, your character will be revealed in the times where you're at your lowest. And it's okay if your character is not where you want it to be. Like, character building is a ongoing thing that happens throughout the course of your entire life. So I would say, like I said, take it day by day, but understand that there's a bigger picture. And even if you're not handling it the way you think you should be, you don't have to, be overly tough on yourself, because there's always time to start new the next day and get better.
Yeah. Perfect. Anything else you want to say in the podcast?
Yeah. No.
I mean, that was awesome. That was a good one. I mean, it was a long one, but I really like that one. Eric's Instagram is going to be in the description. Go check it out. But I'll do the pop up at, the first 5 seconds. So it'll be on the screen. And then anything else? You're good?
No, we're trying to get Shelly on the score sheet this year. So
easy.
I think we need some more comments. So maybe he'll shoot once in a while.
I don't need any more comments. I just need to do it. All right. Well, this has been the Against All Odds podcast with Eric Bird. Eric, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This was really fun.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. All right, guys. Catch you the next one. Peace.